Am I the a-hole for suing my ex's children? I, 50 male, got the biggest heartbreak of my life when I found out that my high school sweetheart turned wife cheated on me and that her children Jack, 21 male, and Jill, 21 female, weren't mine. They were 2 years old at the time, but I couldn't handle it, so I left. Because they were born within the marriage, I was legally the father, and resented paying child support because it was basically the government rewarding my ex for her lies. I wanted no contact with the children, but didn't begrudge my mom for still wanting a relationship. But I did stop talking to her for 6 months after she tried to trick me into reconciliation. I only let my mom back in my life after she swore to never betray me again, and with perfect understanding that she would be dead to me if she ever tried again. Later on, I moved on and found a woman who was willing to accept me in spite of my baggage, and we had a wonderful marriage. I was heartbroken the day she died, but pressed on because I knew I had to be there for my children Miranda, 18 female, and Joe, 16 male. I started a business and did fairly well for myself. I never talked about my ex-wife or her kids, so I developed this reputation of being a doting father and successful man. I never bragged about it, but rather it was something that was pushed onto me that I tried to downplay. After my ex's kids turned 18, I double-checked with my lawyers and they said that I was in the clear, didn't have to pay for any support. Jack and Jill reached out to me, wanting contact and requesting financial assistance as they had plans for college. I calmly told them no, and to never contact me again. It even had my lawyer send out a letter explaining that I was free of any more obligation to them. Jack and Jill were both upset and confronted me each on their own way. Jack went to my place of business, yelled about how I was a horrible father who abandoned his children, while Jill went on social media to badmouth me and my business and got many of her friends to write horrible reviews. Their actions hurt my reputation and cost me a lucrative contract, so I decided to file a lawsuit. Turns out, their mom let them believe that I was their dad, and my own mother never thought about setting the record straight. We did another DNA test. First one was done during the divorce, verifying that I'm not their dad, and I now have a case against them. I've yet to receive an apology from Jack or Jill, but their mom is begging me not to continue with the lawsuit. I said I'd only do it if she paid me a specific amount, and when she said she couldn't afford it, I countered that she could if she sold her house. She said that she and her family would have no home, but I don't see how that's my problem, since this was her mess to begin with. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your ex-wife and mother's lies ruined your business and costed you money. I feel sorry for Jack and Jill, but I question their character, since their response to being told no was to try to destroy your life. Agree. Opie paid child support for children who weren't his own for 18 years. I think that the ex is an awful person for doing that to him, along with lying to her own children and inspiring this whole mess. This is the wildest part in my eyes. DNA tests prove they are not your children, and you were still legally obligated to support them for 18 years? If any lawyers see this, can you please confirm that this can actually happen? Not the a-hole. You paid a child support all the years because you had to, and they thank you by ruining everything you've built up. Sue the hell out of the children, and teach them they don't get to expect money from someone just because they believe it's their dad. I second this. They could have asked why. Instead, they went nuclear on you. I don't see why he should not go nuclear back. Not the a-hole. Although this is a horrible situation all around. In the end, I'll say though that the real a-hole is their mother, who should have at some point told them the truth about you. Although I don't think forcing her to sell her house is in anyone's best interest. This is where you become a bit of an a-hole. Something like that is only going to cause you further grief, and it seems like the best thing for you is to just not have these people in your life anymore. You're 100% wrong. She literally cheated on him and as a result had kids that wasn't his. Then she took child support payments from him for 18 years for kids that weren't even his. She could have declined the payments like any person with an ounce of a good heart. He shouldn't have ever had to pay. Not a single penny. To top it all off, she made the kids believe that he was the real dad. I honestly believe he deserves every single penny he spent in child support back, and then some for emotional damages to his well-being. They destroyed his business and reputation as a result of their mother's poor actions. He's not an a-hole for anything. I say sue the mother and the kids. I hope this man gets the world because this is such a disturbing situation to be in. This is why I wish more women would face criminal charges for false paternity. It's one thing if a man openly accepts a child as his, even if he knows it's not. But to make a man pay for a child he proved to be fathered by someone else, regardless of marital status, is just evil. It causes imbalances in family planning and paternal destiny. Next story. Am I the a-hole for saying I don't care about my sister finally having a kid? 10 years ago, I, 32 female, was dating Sean, 33 male, when my sister Anna, 34 female, encouraged me to break up with him because we weren't good together. At the time, I was hesitant. But then he cheated on me with this woman he worked with and I was done. And Anna was the most vocal cheerleader of the whole thing. But then 3 months later, I found out they were dating. I won't lie, I felt betrayed. Not because I particularly care about friends/family dating exes, but more to do with the fact she was so vocal about us not being good together before we knew he cheated. It felt like she wanted him for herself when I looked back. But on top of that, she starts dating the guy who cheated on me. They never meant for me to find out when I did, but once I found out, they were openly together. The girl he cheated with was almost more pissed than me at first, because she thought they were going to be together. It was a mess. But I declared myself done with my sister that day. I did go to their wedding and I did invite her to mine. I had 2 boys she never met, and I knew from family she was struggling to conceive, but I never reached out to support her. 2 months ago, my parents told me she was pregnant and wanted to invite me to her baby shower. But they wanted to talk to me first, so they could explain why it was so important that I put the past to rest and move on. They said our kids deserve to know each other. And this pregnancy has been rough, so her daughter is a true miracle baby and I would be a great aunt if I'm willing. I told them I'm not, and that they need to stop trying to make me move forward in a relationship with her. They told me she's having a baby, and this could be great for me. I told them I don't care if she's having a kid or not. I don't want no part of their lives. My parents just told me I am dead wrong for that, because their kid is innocent. It is family blood, it deserves to have her family want her. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Family is blood? Then why didn't they handle her when she did what she did? They're just guilt-tripping you. Exactly. Not the a-hole. OP, next time they come at you with that BS, tell them that they chose her over you. And if they harass you anymore, you'll be happy to cut them out of your children's lives. And seriously, consider doing this anyway, because family that backs up a woman who steals her sister's man is toxic. And you don't want that around your kids. Part of me suspects the sister and the ex had an emotional affair, at the very least, before he cheated with someone else as well. Or that they planned it so that they would have an excuse of, but we weren't together when you two were. Not today, home. Reproducing should not be used as a get-out-of-jail card. Am I right to assume that the child is also a product of the guy who cheated on you? Or did she move on to some other guy? She's still with my ex. That just makes it worse, because both of the people who betrayed you are trying to get you to celebrate their betrayal. Because often babies are seen as somehow legitimizing what they did to you. No, thanks. That definitely solidifies not day home. Not day home. Innocent kids are everywhere. There isn't anything special about your sisters. Plus, you can't have a relationship with the kids without a healthy relationship with the parents. And that just doesn't sound like it is feasible. Given that you don't seem to be missing anything about not knowing their kids, I'd say keep on doing things your way. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my mom's engagement ring to my stepbrother because he's not family? My mom died when I, 27 male, was 9, and my dad got married some time after. His wife had 3 other kids, so it was definitely a major adjustment. Me and her son, Ben, 28 male, shared my tiny cramped room all our teen years, and it was rough. We didn't get along at all, and it was a relief moving out when I started uni and never looked back. The only person I stayed in contact with was my dad and my older brother, 35 male. But our relationship with our dad is a bit strained for many other reasons, aside from how he handled everything back then. I've only seen them a handful of times over the years. Last time was at my dad's for his birthday over a month ago, where I was told Ben has a girlfriend that has been with for 5 years, and that he wants to propose. Then my dad says it would be a beautiful gift if I gave him my mom's engagement that she specifically left to us. It was my grandma's ring, which was given to my dad when he wanted to propose to her. That's a thing my family has done, and so that's why he thinks it would be a nice thing to continue on since now he's ready to get married. I told them both no, not just because Ben isn't one of my mom's kids, but I want to keep the engagement ring to propose to a future girlfriend. My brother doesn't believe in getting married, so that's why the ring was passed to me. It was always meant to be used by one of us. I gave these reasons along with the fact it's part of a family tradition on my mom's side. Ben got pretty mad, and so did my dad, because he says Ben is my brother, therefore part of the family and the tradition. I said no, he's not. He is someone I had to be roommates with Tex as teenager, but we're not family. The story would be different if it was my brother who wanted to use it because we're actually family. My brother agreed with that too. My dad hasn't left me alone about it. Ben has only bothered me a few times about it, and so has my dad's wife. Basically, they think I'm being an a-hole. Since this would be a meaningful gift as a way for me to finally consider him my family, it is a nice tradition for the new generation. It is not like Ben is short on money to buy his own engagement ring. Seems to be that they really want to push this, because it's part of the tradition on my mom's side, which I don't get why he needs to be part of, much less take my mom's engagement ring. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. At all. Why do these people think they have a right to your property? Is he going to give it back if you wanted to get engaged someday? Let them start their own traditions. Maybe stepmother can give Ben her ring. Ben never had any relationship to Opie's mom. He didn't even know her. I find it so gross to take away the ring from somebody else's dead mother. At the engagement, the dialogue will be like, Ben, this ring is really special. It belonged to the dead mother. Fiancé, but your mother still lives. Ben, I never said it was my dead mother. Where's the sentimental value? I guess Ben just don't want to spend money on a new ring. This. As the woman receiving the ring, I would feel guilty, knowing I took it away from someone for whom it would have real emotional value. It's creepy to receive the ring of a dead woman who never wanted me to have it, but who intended it for the wife of her son. Creepy, cheap, entitled. Not a-hole. Put that ring under lock and key. I don't trust them. Clear not a-hole. You said it yourself. The ring was meant for either you or your brother to use. Your mom's intentions were clear. Even if you didn't plan on getting married, it's a keepsake that was gifted to you by your mom, a woman your stepbrother never knew as a parent. It's cruel of your dad to be pushing this when he knows you were planning on using it. They don't have the right to demand to be included in family tradition when it means taking something so meaningful away from you. It's your ring to propose with. Not a-hole. This has nothing to do with your stepbrother or, frankly, your father. The ring was left to you and your brother by your mother, who I assume never even met your stepbrother. So, apart from anything else, if you gave it away, you wouldn't be following her last wishes. It's very weird how the rest of your family seem to think they can co-opt another family's traditions and possessions simply because your stepmother married your father, who wasn't even part of the family with the tradition until he married into it. Very strange. And honestly, I'd want nothing to do with any of them. Personally, I would sit your father down, or write him a letter, and reiterate everything you've said previously, but stress that you will not be changing your mind on this. And if he continues to push this, then he will damage your relationship further. If he continues to harass you, then it might be the time for a period of no contact. It's mostly my dad and Ben, my dad's wife a couple times. But yeah, I don't get it either. It's a beautiful ring, that's for sure, but I can't see why he can't buy one of his own. They seem to care that it's a family heirloom and he's family. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister out of my house and exposing her to the whole family? My 26 female, sister 35 female, lost her home due to her husband's gambling. They practically lost everything and were forced to eviction. Our parents had always preferred my sister way more, as she's a perfect child. Perfect husband, perfect house, perfect career. She's a doctor, and thus she came to me for help. She cried and begged to please let her stay here with me, and not to tell anything to our parents until she was divorced. I did, because I know how mean they can be. My boyfriend and I own a 2-bedroom apartment. The guest room that's rather small, and our room that's a lot bigger and has an ensuite bathroom with a bathtub. This is important. My boyfriend is currently staying with his parents in Texas, so I have the whole house to myself. We talked about it and we agreed to let my sister use the guest room and pay minimum rent for a few months. Everything was fine at first, until a few weeks ago when we had some problems with the bathroom my sister uses and she had to use mine. When she found out I had a bathtub, she was thrilled and said why I didn't say anything before. And I just told her because it was my personal bathroom and I didn't have to. The problem got fixed in 2 days, but every once in a while she asked me to use my bathtub. I said yes a few times. until she just stopped asking and began to go into my bath every time she wanted. She then tried to leave her products there until one day I found her sleeping in my bed. I woke her up and told her to get out, but she said that it wasn't fair that I had a better room with a better bath and everything, that she was a doctor deserved the room way more, and that the best thing was to move to the small room and let her have it. I was mad. I couldn't believe that she was in my house trying to rule over me. I told her that this wasn't just my house, but my boyfriend's too, and that she had to get her things and leave. She said I was overreacting, and I told her that, yes, sure, but I know how these things usually are, and I don't plan to have it her way. She said that she didn't have anywhere else to go, and I told her, too bad. She had to come clean to my parents and is currently staying there, and now they are mad at me for kicking her out and forcing her to embarrass herself in front of them, and that I owe her my house for free as long as she wants. Not today, home. You welcomed your sibling into your home and just wanted basic decency, and she trampled all over your boundaries. She deserves what she gets, to be honest. Of course they are mad at you. You're the scapegoat, and she's the golden child. This will never change no matter what you do. So stop trying with any of them, and start distancing yourself. They are toxic, and you need to live a happy, healthy life. A 35-year-old doctor can afford to stay on her own. What an entitled person. Perhaps not. Her ex probably damaged her credit beyond belief. Doesn't excuse one single ounce of her behavior towards Opie, though. Not stay home and laughing out loud at your sister. Did she really say I deserved a better room because I'm a doctor and you're not? Or words to that effect? That's one for the Guinness World Records of entitlement.
Update. Am I the a-hole for telling people the real reason why I skipped my friend's wedding? Original post. I, 35 female, am still friends with some of the people I went to college with. One of them, Debbie, fake name, 36 female, got married this past January after being engaged for 2 years. Early in the planning process, Debbie had asked my 6-year-old daughter, who was 5 at the time, to be the flower girl. We agreed, and she had the dress sent to us right away. We barely spoke about the subject for a while. Then the wedding was delayed by almost a year. The original date was in March of 24. I'm still not sure why. I've heard 3 or 4 different reasons. By the time the actual wedding date came around, the flower girl dress no longer fit my daughter. We didn't find out until roughly 10 days before the wedding, admittedly my fault, and I texted Debbie right away to ask what I should do about it. Her first reply was, "Figure it out." I tried to ask her where she'd bought the dress, where I could get a similar one, or whether it would be okay for my daughter to wear a different dress. I basically gave her a list of ways I could fix this and asked her what she preferred. Debbie responded with, "I don't have time for this. Stop making your whale daughter my problem." Obviously, I decided against attending the wedding after that. As far as I'm concerned, we're no longer friends. And to be clear, I know that up until this point, I was not the a-hole. I didn't tell anyone about it at first, but our absence was obvious. My friends missed me, and my daughter was supposed to be the only flower girl. Whenever Debbie was asked about it, she apparently just said we'd had an argument, but it wasn't a big deal. When our mutual friends and acquaintances asked me, I told them the truth, without sugarcoating it or trying to defend Debbie. I even showed my friends the text messages that proved everything. Everyone took my side. About a week ago, Debbie called me. She apologized for what she said about my daughter, but told me I had no idea how stressed she was at the time. She said it wasn't fair for her to lose friends over a mistake she'd made when she was under so much pressure. Again, I don't think I was in the wrong for skipping the wedding, but I'm wondering whether I took it too far by telling our mutuals why. Edit. Yes, I know I should have made sure the dress still fit sooner. I already know that was my mistake, and I'm not blaming Debbie for it. That's not what I'm asking about. Now for the top comments before reading the update 6 months later. Stop making your whale daughter my problem. She actually said that? And you're asking if telling the truth somehow makes you an a-hole? She spoke her truth. Why can't you? Now she has no friends and is trying to backtrack, shaking my head. Not the a-hole, but you would be if you accepted her back as a close friend, even after an apology. I won't. I will appreciate any apologies that come my way, but we're no longer friends. Not the a-hole. Doesn't matter how stressed and overwhelmed you are, you never talk about a child or adult in that way. That's part of the reason why I believe I might have been the a-hole. I don't believe she would have talked about my daughter that way if she wasn't extremely stressed out. Obviously not an excuse, but certainly something I have to take into consideration. The fact that it even crossed her mind is reprehensible and unforgivable. If she had had a go at you for not checking until now, that would be understandable as stress. The fact that attacking a child's physical appearance, when a wedding had been delayed 2 years, so of course it wasn't going to fit, was even a possibility for her, makes her someone you should not continue to associate with. She's now reaped what she's sown. What pissed me off the most about what she said was that she insulted my daughter over something beyond her control. The dress didn't fit because she's growing up, and not for any other reason. I deliberately choose not to buy my friends' children clothing because I know they're unlikely to last long. She said it wasn't fair for her to lose friends over a mistake she'd made when she was under so much pressure. This one thing would not stop people from being her friend, but it sounds like this was just the last thing that did it. I don't know much about how she was to other people these last few months. She was polite to me until what she said about my daughter. Out of all our mutual friends, 2 of them would definitely stop being friends with anyone who spoke about a child like that. Now for the update 6 months later. Hey guys, I wasn't going to update, but a friend of mine brought the situation up a few days ago and I remembered posting here. After my post back in March, I didn't hear anything from Debbie for a while. I did speak to my friends a lot, and they told me that she continued trying to get them on her side for a while. From what I gather, her story always matched mine. I forgot to make sure the dress fit. I apologized and asked how she preferred I fix it. She insulted my kid, and as I remember discussing in the comments, whale of a daughter is a better translation. Everyone continued taking my side. Apparently, I wasn't the only one Debbie had problems with before the wedding. My case was just the worst one. There's no doubt that the dress fiasco was my fault. I had a lot going on at the time and several reasons why I forgot to make sure it fit sooner. But no excuse can change the fact that I messed up. But I still don't think giving Debbie options on how I could proceed was the wrong move. I've been a bride before, and I wouldn't want someone else to make a decision about my wedding without giving me the final say. And I can't ignore that her reaction was to insult my daughter. Debbie first texted me in June. She asked me to help her clear the air with everyone because most of our mutuals hadn't spoken to her since April. I was tired of all this, so I told everyone that Debbie had already apologized to me. I made it very clear that while we're no longer friends, I sincerely don't care whether they remain in contact with her or not. She texted me once again early in July. She told me that a couple of our mutuals were talking to her again, but it wasn't the same as it used to be. She asked me whether I was still mad at her. I told her I'm not, and I wish her the best, but I don't think we can continue this friendship. I said I was sorry for the dress fiasco, and I understood that she was stressed at the time, but I'll never be able to look past what she did. It would have taken her less time to give me directions than it took to call my daughter a whale. I can forgive rudeness with time, but not insults, especially towards my children. We haven't spoken since. I haven't blocked her, but I have no intention of reaching out again, and I don't think she does either. Some of our mutuals are speaking to her again. Both my best friends from that group want nothing to do with her. I sincerely don't care what anyone does. I won't pretend this never happened, but I've moved on. Like I said, I'm not mad anymore. My daughter will be a flower girl at my cousin's wedding in December, and my family's doing very well. Life has been crazy for a while, but things are finally getting calmer. Good update. Glad your daughter still gets to be a flower girl for someone. Hopefully your ex-friend has done some serious reflecting on her behavior. All it takes is one thing said in a moment to ruin relationships forever. Yes, something said in a moment, but it was the thing that was said. Such a hurtful, ugly thing to say. And the fact that that thought was in her head at all, I could never forgive that either. I personally don't think you were in the wrong in any way whatsoever. Your daughter is going to grow. That's what kids do. The dress she bought was more than likely not going to last for another 6 months size-wise. If she had thought things through, which she doesn't seem to do in general, she would have waited and talked to you about dress sizes. Then when the wedding got delayed, that added another layer of, this kid isn't going to be the same size as last year. She deserves what's happened. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my daughter's boyfriend propose at my vow renewal? I, 50 male, have been married to my wife for almost 25 years. We plan on throwing a huge vow renewal in December. It's basically going to be like a second wedding. The whole shebang. We have 7 kids together, and this regards our baby girl Lala, 20 female. Her boyfriend came to me a little over a month ago and asked me for her hand and also asked if he could propose at the vow renewal. He's a great guy, and we get along super well, and I genuinely like him for my daughter. I said yes to both originally and was super excited. A few weeks passed, and he asked if he could also invite a few family members of his. I was expecting maybe his parents and siblings, but instead, he sent me a list of 25 family members he wants to add. I have a few problems with this. 1. His family does not like my daughter. They are Asian and do not like that their son is with a black woman. And considering nearly everyone else there will be black, to be fair, my daughter says he always sticks up for her, and I have witnessed this myself. 2. He expects us to fund these people like regular guests. As I mentioned, this would be just like a wedding, so 25 extra people is a lot of money. I told him I couldn't accommodate that many people. He got angry and said I was ruining his special moment and that I don't really care about Lala. He also said I can't do anything if they just show up. I told him they absolutely will not show up. I then told him he still had my permission to marry my daughter, but he was not allowed to propose at the vow renewal. Now he, his family, and my 2 sons all say I was being an a-hole and should just suck it up. But my other kids and my wife say that I'm not an a-hole and that he's crazy. Obviously, Lala does not know about any of this. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, and he's not the great guy you think he is. The fact that he made the comment about you not being able to do anything if they just showed up tells you exactly what kind of person he is. Yeah, I gotta say I think it's time to bring OP's daughter into the loop. This is pretty hostile and egregious behavior, and she needs to know about it before potentially agreeing to marry him. OP, imagine that after their wedding he stops sticking up for her and things deteriorate. Would you feel rotten for having had this information about his character and not sharing it with her? She's an adult, and if she's mature enough to get married, she's mature enough to value honesty and open communication over a fairy tale surprise, even if she's momentarily disappointed. Sticking up for someone in the moment is great, but knowing his family doesn't like her, and it's a racial thing, he wants to bring 25 of them to an event celebrating your love with your wife, where their worst fear, him permanently attached to her, will be sprung on them? That's just asking for a disaster. A reasonable person would want to protect their future spouse from such vitriol during such an intimate moment, and certainly wouldn't want to stoke any flames by forcing it to occur at another big event, where any confrontation would happen in front of everyone she loves. Not the a-hole. He wants to have the big moment, probably for social media, when he proposes, but he wants you to foot the bill. How endearing. Asking to horn in on someone else's celebration is tacky AF by itself, but adding in a demand for you to pay for 25 extra guests is some shocking entitlement. And then the icing on the cake. It sounds like they are opposed or hostile to your family because of the color of your skin. Wow, guess you've learned your lesson. You can't give this one an inch or he'll demand a mile. Yeah, I was fine with parents and siblings, but they took it too far. Last story. Am I the a-hole for choosing my grandpa to walk me down the aisle and dance with me instead of my stepfather? At 25 female, I'm getting married in a year and I asked my grandpa to walk me down the aisle and to be the one I dance with for the father-daughter dance. He was so happy to say yes, and my grandma was super happy for him. This upset my mom and stepfather, who felt he was more deserving and that it would traditionally be him if not my biological father. I told them beforehand and they were not happy. My stepfather told me he expected me to change my mind and walk alone and dance with no one but my husband or ask him. He said there was no middle ground because anything different is disrespect to him and his place in my life. I asked my grandpa anyway, and Mom asked me what I was thinking and if I realized how bad I would make the two of them look because it just appears like she can't pick a good father for me when one left and the other I reject as a father. To provide some context about my decision, and this is all stuff my mom and stepfather know, Mom was single, dating until I was 9. My father was never in my life. My grandparents, Mom's parents, were there for me, and Grandpa was the father figure I had. I didn't have any uncles or other male relatives. It was him, and he was so good to me. I used to spend weekends at my grandparents' house. Sometimes I'd spend 3 or 4 nights at my grandparents' house. It was never a set schedule, but that's just how it went. I loved being there, and I felt more supported there than with my mom. My grandparents provided a lot for me. They took me back to school shopping every August. They used to make sure I had enough money in my lunch account at school, and they were the people who picked me up when I got sick at school. Mom wasn't a total deadbeat, but I think she was more focused on her personal life than on me at times. When she met my stepfather, he was eager to step into the role of dad, but I didn't feel that need for him, and I felt weird about him coming on so strong. We spent time together, he bought me stuff, and he moved in after 4 months of me knowing him. He offered to adopt me, which I always said no to. And even after he was on the scene, I went to my grandparents' house a lot and spent many overnights there, sometimes entire weekends, or even entire weeks. It was Grandpa I looked up to as a father figure, and whenever I was asked to write about dads or father figures in school, I wrote about him. I made him Father's Day cards every year and bought him stuff for the day, and when my stepfather had kids with my mom, I'd wish him one too, but I never claimed him as my own dad. And even before a lot of that stuff, my stepfather was highly critical of my grandparents, but Grandpa especially. He said they were just too involved and that they should have left room for me to learn to be on my own more when Mom couldn't be there. But he also thought they should have paid for his and Mom's wedding, which became a huge thing. Then he called my grandpa creepy for being so close with me. They weren't in the same room often, and more often than not, my stepfather took digs or tried to start fights with my grandparents. My grandparents continued providing for me after my stepfather married my mom. They didn't say it at the time, but later they said they suspected he would try to use paying for stuff to get me to do things I didn't want to, like changing my last name and being adopted, and even calling him dad. And I think they were right to think that way, because when my grandparents got me my first car, he offered to buy me a brand new car, like a shiny new one, but he said we'd need to talk about what we are to each other. I just said no, and the car I had was fine. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You asked the man who actually was your father figure to walk you down the aisle and dance with you. That's not disrespect. That's honoring the person who showed up for you your whole life. Your stepfather may have wanted the role, but wanting it doesn't make him entitled to it. He's making this about his ego and how it looks, while you're making it about love and gratitude. Big difference. Weddings are not participation trophies. You don't owe him a symbolic role he never earned. Your grandpa did. Full stop. Thank you for seeing that. My grandpa's been there since day one, and he always comes through. And he and grandma have enriched my life so much since I was little. Without them, I'm not sure I'd be as stable and happy as I am today. Your grandparents were there for you in a way your parents were not. I also don't get your stepfather's hostility towards the grandparents who were there for you as a little girl. Was he hoping to push them out of your life? And why? The bride decides who, if anyone, walks her down the aisle. For most women, it's their dad. But not everyone has a loving father, so they go with brother, uncle, stepfather, or, yes, grandfather. Some women without close male relatives will have their mother or aunt. At any rate, having your grandfather walk you would be most meaningful to you, not the a-hole. For me, he acts like he wanted them to not be involved, because then I'd sit around wishing for a dad and jump at the first guy who came around, him. He seems to think they were the reason I never longed for that. But maybe I wouldn't have cared about that either way. We can't say for certain. What I can say is I would have been miserable without them.